So nice to see all of you. Thank you so much for joining today. Let me go ahead and share my screen. If you have questions at any point, please feel free to drop those into the chat. Um, and we will be sure to get to those. But and if you wanted to come off mute, just if you could raise your hand, use the raise your hand feature. At the bottom, you can click on the react button, and you can see that there's an option to raise your hand. But we'd ask to please refrain from unmuting yourself during the presentation, just so we can make sure that um, just so we can make sure that we get through and that the recording is going to work for us to be able to share out to others. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can everybody see that? Okay. Okay, wonderful. So thank you so much again for joining us. We are going to be covering a little bit of background information about why we started this community support initiative LOI, what our thinking was behind it, and kind of give a little bit more clarity on the process and what we are hoping to be able to achieve through this process. So want to introduce members of our Grants and Scholarships Department who are on today. We have Kathy Fitzpatrick, who is our Vice President of Grants and Scholarships. I'm taking on a little bit more for her today because she's not feeling well. Kathy, hope you feel.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you, Maggie.
but she's here and obviously is the main leader of this department, and so I want to acknowledge that. Also joined by Frank Caputo, who's a Senior Grants and Scholarships Manager. And we also have Rebecca Farrell, who's our grants and scholarships manager. And they'll be helping out with helping to answer your questions and handle a lot of the tech. But my name is Maggie Martinelli. For those who don't know me, I'm the Chief Financial and Operating Officer at the foundation. We will share these slides out after the fact, so you can kind of make sure you have all of our contact information or any of the information that we have shared. So I just want to give us a little bit of background information. I know I see a lot of familiar faces, but I really want to ground us in our mission, vision, and we'll also cover our values so that you can understand why we are taking on this process in the way that we are. So our mission is really to responsibly steward our resources. We want to inspire transformative philanthropy and all in the hopes of helping to build a more strong and vibrant community. We feel that if we are successful in meeting our mission, then our communities will be thriving and a vibrant place for opportunities for all people. And so with that in mind, we also have we are also rooted in very critical values that you'll see hopefully align through why we are taking on this grant process the way that we are. So for us, collaboration is integral. So we really work to develop deep connections with our community. We serve to create impacts for addressing the community's challenges, and again, hopefully lead transformational change. Trust for us is earned, so we feel that we have to earn the trust of our community. We do this by taking actions that are rooted in authentic listening, clear communication, fiscal integrity, and a commitment to transparency. Hence, a lot of why we're doing this webinar to be very clear about, why we structured the process this way. For us, integrity is not optional, so we try to work in as much of an ethical and responsible manner as possible, really approaching our work hopefully with a lot of compassion and respect. Innovation is fundamental to the work that we try to do. We serve as an engine for positive change and impact. We are always striving for a culture of innovation and high quality. And inclusivity is also essential to our work. So celebrating our differences, creating a future where all can contribute to and benefit from our collective efforts. So hopefully, as we go through this process, you'll be able to see how we are really trying to lean into our values through this process. So this actually came right from trustbasedphilanthropy.org. And uh, this phrase, trust-based philanthropy, is something that we've heard a lot about for a number of years, and something that we have really tried to promote and lean into in recent years. It really is rooted in the idea that as grant makers, we do not have all the answers. And in fact, really, it's the grantees, our nonprofits, and our communities that are the ones helping to provide that valuable perspective that can really, from our perspective, help fund set our strategy and help us set our approach to making our work more successful really in the long run. So that's why it's really important for us to lean into listening. We want to create streamlined approaches to focus on dialogue and learning so that we could pave the way for deeper relationships and create some mutual accountability. Um, I know sometimes it could feel as the grantee that the accountability is all on you to submit reports, but it's not. It's on us also to be accountable back to you all to make sure you understand the best, and for us to be as clear and transparent as possible. So we also try to be responsive, adaptive, and also provide non-monetary support with the hopes that we can help bolster your leadership, your capacity, and the health of your organizations. It's funny that a lot of this was taken right from that website because, again, it really speaks to the ethos that we're trying to convey in the work that we're doing. So listening, it's not new to us. If you've been around with us long enough, you'll know that we've done listening sessions, we've done roundtables, we've held all kinds of public events and convening opportunities. And so really this LOI is intended to be an evolution of that natural listening that we do try to do. It's really about us also speeding up the process. While we gained so much knowledge and information when we would do a lot of those sessions, the hard part was, okay, now how do we distill what we learned? How do we get this in front of all of our committee members? How do we use this to then inform our grant process? How do we get the groups, that we need to together to make the funding decisions? It just, again, it's very valuable and love the opportunity for us to come together and hear from one another. But the LOI is intended to really kind of speed things up and really accelerate the listening so we can turn it more quickly into funding. Really the hallmark of what we're trying to do is really create a tailored and customized approach to grant making that's truly going to support the needs of you all, of our nonprofit partners. Previous grant cycles with us have been a little bit more prescriptive, right? We've been able to say, oh, there's innovative impact, right? So show us the innovative ways that you plan to make an impact. We would say we're going to do grants up to a certain amount, and we would get a lot of applications up to that certain amount, and we would get the answers that we were kind of prescribing and asking for. So we're trying to really flip this on its head, and taking this approach that we want to learn in real time and then create the opportunities for funding that actually represent the need that's in the community and the need that you're seeing within your organization. So really, we are also trying to think beyond what is our typical grant pool and resources. Oftentimes, and is natural for a lot of nonprofits, that we are also a nonprofit, that we can take sometimes more of a scarcity mindset, right? We only have X number of dollars to grant this year. We really want to get past that mentality and look at it really more from an abundance standpoint, right? So think about where are all the resources that we have and how do we allow those to address the needs in our community in a more systemic way? Yes, it's going to be through our grant pool of dollars, but what are the other unique ways that we can find support? So, one of the things I'm going to kind of give a quick introduction on, I do have another webinar that we'll be scheduling around impact investing, but I'm going to give you kind of a high level idea of what it means. And so when we talk about going beyond just our regular grant pool of dollars, give you kind of an insight into what that is. So traditional investing, I'm sure many of you on this call understand traditional investing, that you take a sum of money, you put it into some type of investment vehicle with the expectation that you will get a return on your dollars, right? So I put $100 into an investment, I get $106 back, 6% is that return that I'm expecting to get. When we make grants, it's not a 0% return for us. It's actually a negative 100% return, which means we give it out with no expectation that we're going to get any of those dollars back. And that's a great tool. And we want to continue to use the grant dollars we have available that we can grant without any expectation of return on any of those dollars. Um, but that we do expect impact, right? We do hope for impact with those dollars. Well, how do we kind of combine these ideas, right? The dollars that we use to invest and the dollars that we use to make an impact and take them and put them a little bit together. Now, this to be clear, we're going to have as many grant dollars, if not more grant dollars, available as we did in previous years. That's not changing. But we have a number of we have a good endowment that we are able to work off of where we do traditional investing, where we put it into, be it the stock market, uh, stocks, bonds, money markets, those types of things, where we expect to get a return on them. Well, how do we maybe think about taking a portion of those dollars and rather than investing it into Wall Street, how do we maybe invest those dollars into Main Street, right? Where we do get a nominal level of return that also has a community benefit, right? So it's a way for us to think about how do we deploy dollars in a mission aligned way to whether strengthen economic mobility, stabilize communities, build long-term regional resilience, but still still creating, fiduciary discipline and, responsibility in that way as well. So really, it's another lever, right? So if we think about what we've usually worked on, right, is we've had one lever in front of us, which is our grant dollars, right? We could flip that lever up. We give out the grant dollars. When the grant dollars are done, we've exhausted our capabilities. Well, now we kind of want to pull back the curtain and reveal more levers, which is how do we also maybe take a portion of our dollars and use them instead to invest maybe into projects where there could be a return, modest, right? But still actually also meeting our mission. So really starting to view grants, loans, maybe offering guarantees on loans that our nonprofits may be taking, or other forms of equity as kind of like this continuum of funding to solve our community's challenges, right? So thinking about it in more that abundance mindset. So by listening to community, we can better be in a position to match the right type of capital support, the right type of dollars to the actual needs in our community, rather than a single one size fits all approach. One side, you submit an application with specific things that we ask for, you give us what we ask for, and we give out a grant. This is really time to take a broader approach. We will, as I said, have more information available about the impact investing and what that can mean and what that can look like in the coming weeks. But again, the more that we are able to learn through this LOI process, the more we might be able to create some approaches to address the community's needs. So kind of already hinted at this, but why an LOI? So we really wanted to make our listening and learning an opportunity to better understand the challenges that our nonprofit organizations are facing, how those challenges are affecting the communities that they serve. What is the true scale, urgency, and nature of these challenges within both of your organization and as you see it in the community? And how do we design a way to really understand what are maybe the patterns and pressures on the nonprofit sector so that we can actually start addressing some of the core issues that are happening? So we've already received a number of LOIs so far, and what we've heard is not surprising to any of you all. Obviously, organizations across Lackawanna County or serving Lackawanna County are navigating what a lot of nonprofits in our broader communities are within our what we're hearing actually throughout the country. There's a really wide range of challenges, pressures, and changes that are having a really strong effect on our organization's ability to meet needs. Challenges have included, but are really not limited to funding uncertainty. There's more uncertainty about where dollars are coming from now more than ever. Rising costs. This does not just, as we know, this does not just affect the organizations and their buying power. It also affects the individuals that they serve, and it affects the employees. It affects all of us who work for these nonprofits and how we have to approach this work. It creates operational strain. There's intense operational strain, having to do with policy shifts, staffing pressures. Burnout is a massive issue. Being able to stay competitive in this market is really challenging. There's, especially with rising costs, it's harder for individuals maybe to stay at a nonprofit where they're not may not have the same earning potential as for profit. So, and then there's just an increased demand for services. We've heard time and again that we are in a situation that's much worse than it was when it was during COVID. During COVID, at least, there was a lot of dollars being infused into the system and a lot of common recognition about how difficult things were. Um, Now it's actually worse because we have the same kind of challenges, worse challenges, but not the same recognition and level of support that we had in a broader sense before during COVID. So, I want to be clear too what the LOI is and is not. We These responses that we're receiving allow us to, as a foundation, learn. It allows us to influence how we're going to do some of our grant making, and again, how we can deploy capital from what we're hearing. For instance, an organization may have a mortgage on their building that is extremely high, right? And that is taxing their ability to have enough operational needs. How can we work with them to look at that as one opportunity? Um, it's, where is there issues with long-term sustainability? How can we support that? Are there opportunities for helping to develop fee-for-service type models that will allow your organization to remain strong without a strong reliance on donations and grants in the long term? So again, it allows us to really take that tailored approach. And we are using this to educate not just ourselves as the staff, but also our distribution committee, our board of governors, excuse me, um, other foundations that we have the opportunities to work with, really sharing the information broadly about what we're hearing. And hopefully also being able to leverage it to bring other dollars, maybe even from outside the area that would be interested in investing their grants dollars here, but because we'll be able to more clearly articulate what the needs are. So, cannot say enough that really specificity, being specific within your application and and showing candor, being really honest within your LOIs are really encouraged. And I want to be totally clear too, it does not disadvantage your organization. I know that that's sometimes counter to a lot of what is sometimes thought of, that you don't want to give too much away in fear that we'll judge and you wouldn't be eligible for grants. Without knowing the full picture, it's really hard for us to be able to really help in specific ways and really tailor an approach. So the more candid that you can be about your challenges, the more we might be able to find unique ways of supporting you through grant dollars or other resources. It's also, and again, we'll go on this a little bit more on the next slide, but it's really not a competitive grant application. In fact, this entire process is really not about competing with one another. It's really about learning, listening, and then finding the right resources that we can provide. So an LOI is not necessarily, I would say, not a guarantee of funding. Submission of an LOI, though, however, if we hear in there something that we can potentially have an opportunity to support, then there may lead to invitation to apply for some different funding streams. So it is going to be the first step in working with us if you're looking for support either financially or through building up your capacity. So overview of the process, submission and evaluation of the LOI. So when you submit an LOI to us, we review that information and use it to inform our strategy, which we are constantly evolving and constantly evaluating. We are considering what areas of support we can best utilize to meet the needs of your organization. If appropriate, we may invite you to apply for opportunities that best fit the needs of your organization. And opportunities is plural, because if there are multiple different opportunities that might meet your needs, then we will absolutely consider, opening that up. The applications themselves are reviewed very in depth on a rolling basis by our distribution committee. Funding decisions, again, organizations might be considered from one or more funding opportunities, again, depending on need. If we can meet the need of what you need through grant dollars, then, that is an opportunity. And then I really I can't state enough the reporting piece and why that's going to be really a big piece of what we're doing. We want to report on the data that we're receiving, not just through our LOIs, but through the applications and obviously as well through your final reporting. We are on a journey together of learning and adapting and transforming the idea of what grants could look like. And so I'm sure there's a lot we're going to be able to learn on this journey together. And so the best that we can, again, take this information and amplify it, both locally, regionally, and beyond, we would want to be able to do that. So again, submission of an LOI, it's not a guarantee of funding. Applications themselves are never a guarantee of funding. Unfortunately, we are limited by the number of grant dollars that we have, but we have an abundance of additional resources that we can hopefully come to bring to bear to support you. So, and again, if we feel that through that LOI that there is an opportunity where we can support your organization, then you may be invited to apply for specific areas of support. So again, it's really important for us to have that ability to truly understand the need. And so we are going to ask for the same values that hopefully we're able to model to you, which is trust, transparency, and responsiveness. So these are things that we are very much leaning into. And so hoping for the same in return. And we, again, we're doing this because we're trying not to create an overly burdensome process for our nonprofits. We want to be clear about what we're trying to do, but also at the same time, be responsive, right? And being responsive is going to be a more tailored approach, which means it's not as clear cut as other processes, but actually, hopefully, we'll get to the heart of some issues. So who should submit an LOI? 501c3 nonprofits of all sizes. So regardless of if you are an all volunteer organization or you're a staff of 500, we want to hear from you. We encourage all organizations that meet these criteria or one of these criteria to submit an LOI. So if you have programs in Lackawanna County, we want to hear from you. If you would normally be looking for our traditional community needs grant funding process, you want to submit an LOI. This is the entry point for you to receive some support. If your organization, we really want to hear from you too, especially if you are having significant changes or have significant financial needs. So if your organization is going through a transitional time right now, from factors internal, external, we want to hear from you. If there's a real timeliness to your request, we would love to understand that too. So if you anticipate significant impacts within the next 6 to 12 months, we want to hear from you. If your organization is at risk of not being here in 6 to 12 months, please submit the LOI and let us see what we can do to help you. Organizations, now we got a lot of questions that, oh, if I don't have federal, state, or other types of funding, am I not able to apply? No, please, you are absolutely able to apply. But we'd also love to hear and get a good understanding too, if you are an organization that has had funding reductions from federal, state, or other types of funding, if they were eliminated, delayed, if something was changed for you because of policy changes, we want to hear about this. If you don't have that, you're not excluded. You are absolutely still able to apply. But it's really important if this has been an area where you've seen impact within the recent months, we would want to hear so that we can again think about all the ways that we can bring resources to bear. And if you have not already submitted a community support initiative LOI. So if your organization has already submitted the LOI, you do not need to submit another LOI at this time. So we did reopen the process to allow for other organizations to have the opportunity. Now, that being said, if you feel that there's information that maybe you left out of the LOI or that you would want to include or revisit, please contact our grants team, grants@safdn.org, so that we can see about maybe reopening it or what we can do to help adjust that. So, ideally, we would have really been able to have this type of webinar session before we opened, but really we didn't know where we were going with it to begin with. We've been doing what we like to call mid-air engineering. So we are trying to really build this plane as we're trying to fly it. Because for us, what we are doing should be informed by what we're hearing and not vice versa.
Maggie, I think it's a good time to state that there are no deadlines
Yep.
for LOIs, and we've done this purposely so that as people feel their needs arise, they would be able to contact us. And we do ask on the application the urgency of your funding. So please be honest about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kathy. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, no, there are no deadlines for LOIs or applications at this phase. We are being very intentional about that. Um, we are reviewing them on a rolling basis as they come in. Our distribution committee, our incredible distribution committee is meeting every other week right now, and thoroughly evaluating the information that we're receiving, and making decisions for next steps based on what they're hearing. So really, you can submit one based on the timeliness of your needs. Your need is today. Get it to us today. The sooner you get it to us, the sooner we're going to get it in front of our distribution committee, and the sooner we'll be able to be on a path to supporting you. But we also understand that you have other priorities. Your schedules, may be difficult. We understand that there might be other grant applications that are on a deadline that might be competing with your time. So that's why we are removing the barrier of a specific time and saying, you tell us, and we will do our best to meet our needs. That doesn't mean we're going to have it open forever. Obviously, there will come a point where, maybe our grant resources are no longer available, or maybe, we need to shift focus and change up the process. Because again, we are constantly iterating and constantly changing based on what we learn. So I do want to, at least, again, part of our trust and transparency is that before we do close either the LOI and or the applications, we will make an announcement with a minimum of 2-week notice. So if we do decide to close and we do decide to set deadlines, you'll have 2 weeks from that point, to, finish up, wrap up whatever might be pending on your end. We are going to continue to set deadlines for final reports based on when funding is provided, and that's in order to kind of help keep, again, that mutual accountability. We want to be accountable to our donors. We want to be accountable to our board, to all of those who have gone on the journey of trusting us to deploy their dollars in a way that best meets our community. So we ask that you just be proactive in working with us. If for whatever reason the timeline on the final report doesn't work, but we do want to set a little bit of a gauge on that so that we can turn around information and be open and transparent with the community about how dollars are being deployed. Most of you know how to apply. So you can log into our grant portal. We do have a short link, which is our website with the /grants. And on the apply page, you want to look for the 2026 Community Support Initiative, and you can click right on the blue apply button. I also want to note that our critical needs and our capacity building grants are still available also on a rolling basis. Now, those are capped at $5,000. So we are keeping those. Now, again, critical needs, I would think of those more from the lens of our HVAC just broke down, and we need quick funding, or, we've had an instance where, there was a,
Tree fell down on a entrance to a building,
right,
um, preventing services from happening,
right.
that kind of thing.
So it's kind
Mhm.
of like a really unbudgeted, unplanned, you need quick turnaround. Again, we're trying to still move the LOIs through a fairly quick process. But we're also thinking on a bigger scale of critical needs when we think about the LOI. Critical needs for this is kind of more the emergency type, um, triage situation. So now with that, that's kind of the end of our formal presentation. I want to now open it up to any questions that you all have, comments, and feedback. Corin.
Thank you, Maggie. That was a very wonderful explanation. Can you explain the capacity building grant for the group as a whole?
Yeah, absolutely. So capacity building grant is intended to support organizations with specific projects and opportunities that allow their organization to be strengthened so that they can better meet their missions. These can include things like, maybe you have to make some investments into your branding for your organization and an overall haul there. Maybe it's an investment in technology. Maybe it's needing to work with a consultant to help you build out a strategic plan or a business plan. Maybe it's helping with capital campaign support. Maybe you're in the process of wanting to undergo a capital campaign and you've never done that before, so you want to hire a consultant to work with you through that. So it's really intended to be an investment into your organization to kind of get at the things that would support your ability to better do your work. I hope that helps explain, but I'm happy to answer any other questions. Any other questions?
Um, I have one.
Sure.
I've never written a grant before and I'm new to this whole process. I need help. Is there anybody I can meet with personally that can help me? I went to one class so far and I received a book, but I don't know how to start for
Yeah,
our,
so no, great question. So I would email our grants team and we'll see what resources that we have that can help support you with the grant writing piece. I'd also say that we are, again, not your traditional, we're not going to really view this through the traditional grant making lens. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for, just a true assessment of what your needs are. So,
okay,
um, it doesn't need to be, in our minds, a perfectly polished, um, grant application. We
okay,
understand that there's plenty of funders out there who do require that. And so it's still a great, a skill to build up, and if we could support you in that, we will. I also wouldn't want that to be a barrier for us being able to understand the needs that your organization has.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So that could also be a capacity building opportunity where
Exactly.
you would fill out a letter of intent for a capacity building grant,
Mhm.
and we can get you a professional individual who can provide hours to help you with the grant application.
Well, thank
Exactly.
you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Edith, feel free to follow up with me too if you have any,
Thank,
issues with that or concerns.
thank you, Rebecca.
Fantastic.
I wanted to ask you to touch on just the Lackawanna County. I know you did, but I do know that there's some outside of the county, but that do serve Lackawanna County residents. So just to clarify that again, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if you have programs that serve Lackawanna County residents, we want to hear from you. Now I will be candid that, not all funding will be available to organizations that are outside our region. For instance, we are looking at, the ability to potentially provide some operational support. Those will typically be limited to organizations who are headquartered in Lackawanna County, because we are a Lackawanna County-based funder. So operational type support may be a little bit more limited to organizations that are based here. That being said, there are programmatic and other type of funding available that help support programs that support our residents. So either way, we encourage you to apply. Again, all the information is extremely valuable as we kind of build out our process.
Also,
Um,
important, I'm sorry, may I go ahead?
No, that's okay. I saw that Lou unmuted himself, so I'm not sure if he has a question.
I do, but she can go first. She got there first.
I just think it's also important that when you do apply for funding and your organization is outside of Lackawanna County but provides services within Lackawanna County, that you really zero in on those services on your application, and tell us what you're doing in Lackawanna County and the funding you need just for Lackawanna County specifically.
Thank you both.
So go ahead.
Corin,
Go ahead,
I'm
Lou.
gonna go Lou and then Corin.
Okay.
Thanks. I unfortunately got on, I think, like 3 minutes late because I was just coming off of a session. So maybe this was given up front, or who knows, maybe I went cross-eyed at some point and missed it. But this LOI, is it something that you will be sending to us for us to fill out, or is this something that we have to write and send to you? Or is it, I didn't see anywhere in the PowerPoint like a structure for what this looks like or how to
Sure.
submit or that kind of thing.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and share my screen. So you actually are going to submit right online. So even though it's called like a letter of intent, truly it's actually a little bit more of a form that you have to fill out. So you would go to our regular grants page. So there's the short link, safdn.org/grants. And when you're logged in, you can click on our apply page, and then you're going to look for this 2026 community support initiative. And then you'll be able to click on the apply button. And then the LOI form will come up and it will ask specific questions that will help provide the information that we are looking for. And then again, based on what the LOI information that you submit is how we'll then make an assessment of how best we can support you.
That then answers my second question, which was going to be, we do get a fair amount of these questionnaires about the nature of business and the needs of the community. And I was like, how would I know if I've already done this? But if it's a process that I have to initiate by doing these steps, then that tells me we haven't done it yet. So we will. Thanks. That's what I needed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know there's a lot of surveys out there, and so that's why we intentionally put it into our grant system so that hopefully we can kind of hit the accelerate button on taking it from survey to funding, because we're all in the same system. We actually want to, activate exactly the information that we're getting and having it inform immediately right into funding strategy. So that's why we took this approach as opposed to like a survey monkey or something like that.
Maggie, can I follow up a little bit more on the information that Kathy and you shared about county specific? So I do understand that there are nonprofits that are located and serve, but they are finding a need here in Lackawanna County to start programmatic stuff, and that they've built partnerships or stakeholder relationships, and really just need to hit the ground running. And that would be another reason to fill out the LOI, again, without a promise, but the understanding that, for instance, if you're seeing a food insecurity need in the region, and you've connected with partners who are willing to help you do services up here, to serve county residents, then that would be another thing to put into the LOI.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it really the answer is that yes, whether it's a new program or an existing program that is looking to serve Lackawanna County, we would want to hear about it. So if you, especially like there, I know that there are instances where a lot of times organizations from outside our county look to come into our region and might do an assessment about what the needs are, what they're seeing and then, adjust what services they're bringing based upon what's already here. That's very valuable information for us to be able to then make informed decisions around how we're addressing again, not just grant making, but our overall strategies and a lot of the work that we're doing. So yeah, the more information for us, the absolute better. And I know it's hard because everyone's time is extremely valuable. And so to say, hey, give us this information with no hope of funding is a little bit of a challenge. So we don't want to, it doesn't mean no hope of funding. It just means that, again, we're taking this really tailored approach to say, if there is funding that we can attach to this, we will do so. If there is not funding that could be attached to this, then that comes from us, then what other ways can we support? So again, we're really trying to listen, to respond, and to help in all the myriad of ways that that might look like. Yeah, Lou.
So I was just finding where we're going and I drilled down on your website and found the spot. I ran into something that I want to make sure I don't mess up. So I'm responsible for one of the funds that you guys hold and regularly in contact with Jacob for distributions and grants from that fund. And
Sure.
I have a username and password for the
Mhm.
advisor portal. But when
Okay.
I just put the username and password for the advisor portal in that spot for this LOI, it told me that it was the wrong password. So are they two
Yeah.
separate logins so that I don't mix it up? Okay, that's
Exactly. Yep, they are. Yeah, so that's a great question. So absolutely, if you have a fund under us, you are eligible also to enter. We just we'll help you through that process. But yeah, it is two different systems. They technically interconnect on the back end, but it would be two different logins.
okay. So even though I'm a user of the regular website through the advisor portal, I have to set up like a new user profile for this particular thing.
Exactly. Yep.
Cool, thanks.
Yep.
Rebecca, was there anything in the chat that we should bring to the group?
Um, Todd Poosley, I had asked if the organization does not have an urgent need for funding right now, should they still submit an LOI or wait until a specific need arises? I had answered him, please do still submit an LOI because we do ask for a timeline of the funding needed, as in 0 to 3 months, 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, six to 12 and then 12 months and beyond. Then we're able to
Yeah.
truly triage what where the needs are. So we have received some LOIs where they feel that their funding need is 12 months off and we are able to kind of not disregard but put a pin into those and then address a little bit more the ones that have more of an immediate right now need. But again, our intent is to have a thorough response to everyone who submits an LOI to us. Yes, Corin.
For those who are hopefully going to watch this webinar after this webinar, um, I know that you've said it in the presentation, but really being clear about reaching out to the grants team if there is a question of should you or shouldn't you, because I think a lot of people are hesitant, and I just wanted to ask the grants team is open to talking this through with individuals who are questioning whether or not it's the right method for them.
Absolutely. And that is part of the relationship building that we are trying to do through this. Really become partners with our nonprofit organizations in helping them meet their missions while we're meeting ours.
We are, Kathy, I don't mean to speak for you, but we were talking about having a virtual office hour. I'm not sure if we decided on a date and time with that, but
Yeah,
Hasn't been
kind of like
set
an
up
open
yet.
door policy there. So
yeah.
definitely reach out.
Absolutely. We heavily encourage the use of our grants emails. So I'll ask Frank and Rebecca to just again drop that into the chat so that people have access to that. To reach out and again build that relationship. And to Rebecca's point, we are also looking to set up specific office hours where you can schedule time with our grants team, where they'll have specific hours available that you can go right in and pick a time that works for you. And I'm happy to have those conversations. It is best to email, I will say, rather than phone call, just because we are taking a lot of meetings. So I would just encourage to reach out via email first and schedule a time. That way you can kind of ensure that you have the undivided attention of our grants team. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone for their time today, for their questions and insights and everything that you all bring to this table. We are so grateful to you all for taking the time. We want you to know how much we value the time that it takes for you to be with us today, to submit this information, to submit follow-up forms, to meet with us. We do not take your time for granted whatsoever, and so. And we also want to hear from you. So if there's ways that we can improve this process, please, feel welcome to reach out to our team. We'd be more than happy to hear your feedback, in addition to any questions that we can help answer. So any parting words, Kathy?
I look forward to conversations in the future with everyone, and really don't be afraid of anything.
Yeah.
There's no stupid question.
Sure.
We'd be happy to hear from everyone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I hope you all have a great day. We look forward to seeing your LOIs and having next conversations.
Thank you so much for having this webinar.
Oh,
Thank
you're very
You're
you.
welcome.
welcome.
This
Thanks,
helps.
everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Rebecca.
You're welcome, Edith. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.